So in this video, we're going to introduce mean, median, mode, and range. Mean, median, and mode are three types of averages, where range is a measurement of how spread out your data is. But we've got some visual clues here to show us what each one is doing. So the mean is when we're evening out the data set. So you can see here we've evened everything out to be 4. Mean is often called the average. So when people say average, they're mostly referring to the mean. But it is important to know that mode and median are a type of average as well. The mode is the most common number in a set of data. So if we have a look here, we can see that this orange bar appears twice and this blue bar appears 3 times, and hence our mode is 5 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is the most common number represented by the blue bar there. The median is the middle value in a set of data when you put them in order. So a bit tricky to see visually here, but it is important to order the data. It'll be clearer once we use numbers for this one. And the range is the difference between the biggest and the smallest. So we found the biggest bar and the smallest bar, and we've taken away the difference between the two, which is a measurement of spread. So let's try this with some actual numbers now. So we're going to use the height of 4 boys in a 9th grade class. So we've got Luke, Mike, Ian, and Connor, and their 4 heights over here. So to find the mean, we want to find the sum of their observations. We want to find the total of the data and then divide by how many pieces of data there is or how many observations there are. So just reminding you visually what's going on. This is an evening process. So we're trying to find like an even in out process for their 4 heights. So let's find the total. If we add their 4 heights together, we get 721, which is our total, also known as our sum. But then we need to divide that by 4 because there's 4 of them, which is 180.25, and hence the mean is 180.25 centimeters. When we even out their heights, that will give us 180.25 centimeters. Let's look at the median next. So when we do the median, remember it's really important to put the data in order. So here, quite conveniently, they're in order already, but if they wasn't, you would have to do that first. So remember, we're ordering the data and then we're trying to find the one in the middle. So here's our data in order: 176, 178, 178, and 189. To find the middle number for this one is pretty clear because it's halfway between these two here. If you have to find the median and it's in the middle of 2 numbers, you could add those 2 numbers together and then divide by 2. It's a bit overkill for this question, but just to show you, 178 plus 178, get your total, then divide it by 2, would still give you 178. So that is a helpful method if these numbers are not the same, but your median is in the middle of 2 numbers. Another technique people use, just to visually show you what's going on, if I get rid of a number from the end and from the start, and from the end and from the start, what's left is where the median is. So we can clearly see that the median must be here, and it is 178 centimeters. Okay, so remember to put your data in order. So when you're finding the mode, remember you're looking for the most common number, which is why it can be helpful to put your numbers in order as well. So a quick visual reminder, the mode of this one here would be the blue bar, 5. But if you've got lots of pieces of data, putting it in order might make it easier for you to count how many times each number occurs. In this one, it's quite clear what the mode is. The only number that appears more than once is 178. So that is our mode. Our mode is 178. If you don't have a mode, that is okay. If each number only appears once or the same amount of times. You could have 2 modes, and we would call that bimodal. So you could have 2 numbers that appear the same amount of times and are clearly the most. Not very common in LANTITE, but just don't panic if that happens. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. And finally, the range. Remember, this is a measurement of spread. So we're looking for the difference between the biggest and the smallest. So in this scenario, the difference between the tallest person, which is Connor, and the shortest person, which is Luke. So Connor is the tallest, Luke is the shortest. The difference between their heights is 13 centimeters, and hence our range is 13 centimeters. So we're just going to have a look at a graph now and see how we can get some of the averages and measurements of spread from that. So here we've got some group data and the number of people living in a house. So this bar represents there's one person living in these houses, and we don't have a scale, but let's assume that if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, that would mean that there would be 4 houses which have one person living in them. But we're just focusing on what averages and what spread we can find straight away. So remember, the mode is the most common number, also known as the most frequent. And where this is frequency, it is the number with the peak. So here is our peak, and that is representing 3. So the mode is 3. The most common number of people living in a house is 3. Just be careful, it's not how tall the bar is, it's this number down here. That is the most common option, which is why it's got the highest frequency. The range is the biggest, take the smallest as well, and we're not focusing on frequency. So the most people living in a house is over here. The smallest amount of people living in a house is there. So the range is 5, okay? We're not looking at the heights of the bar to help us find the range. You can get mean and median, but it's not something you're going to be asked for in LANTITE. But just in case you wanted to know, I could write all these numbers out individually. So if there was 4 ones, 4 people who have one person in the house, I would write 1, 1, 1, 1, so on and so forth, and then I could get the mean and the median the typical way. But that's a higher level content than what you need to know at this stage. But it is very common for you to be asked what the mode and maybe what the range is from a graph like this.